There are places on our planet that are not mentioned in tourist brochures. Places where nature and time have intertwined into an unsolved mystery. Protective structures of years gone by, a forest in which legends echo, temples swallowed up by the jungle. And today we will set off on a journey through the most mysterious and lost corners of our planet. A creepy place that has found a second life. In the small town of San Antonio del Tequendama, which is located 30 kilometers southeast of the capital of Colombia, there is an unusual place. On a cliff, directly opposite the Tequendama waterfall, rises the mysterious abandoned Hotel del Salto. The building, similar in style to a French castle, was built in 1923 by order of the then president of the country, Pedro Nelospina. The heyday of the Hotel del Salto came in the middle of the last century. It had 18 apartments with bathrooms and fireplaces, a restaurant with a terrace and gorgeous views of the waterfall. But the hotel flourished only until the 1970s. Then the Tequendama waterfall began to dry up, and wastewater began to be dumped into the river, which spoiled all the charm of this place with a disgusting smell. Gradually, El Hotel del Salto began to go bankrupt, and instead of guests, those who wanted to commit suicide began to come here. At one time, local authorities even wanted to open a police station in the former hotel, whose employees would prevent suicide. But this did not happen. The hotel was abandoned and began to slowly become covered with vegetation and fall into disrepair. It was rumored that ghosts lived in the empty rooms, the souls of those who threw themselves down from the cliff. Recently, the state paid attention to El Hotel del Salto, which decided to clear its reputation. The building received the status of a cultural heritage site of Colombia, and after a major reconstruction, the National Museum of Biological Diversity of Flora and Fauna opened here. In the small New York shipping channel East River, which separates Manhattan and the Bronx from Brooklyn and Queens, not far from LaGuardia Airport, 350 meters from the mainland, is North Brother Island, which has had such a reputation since the late 19th century that New Yorkers avoided it at all costs then, and some do not risk walking on it even today. The island was uninhabited until 1885, when the Riverside Hospital, which specialized in smallpox treatment, was moved there from Blackwell's Island. Patients with contagious and viral infections needed a space isolated from the outside world, so this island was chosen. Later, the hospital began treating other viral diseases and bringing in patients who required quarantine. Most of the infected were placed in wards and never allowed outside the hospital walls again. In 1904, the steamship General Slocum suffered a terrible wreck in the immediate vicinity of the North Brother, which already had a bad reputation at that time. The wooden vessel caught fire unexpectedly for everyone. People rushed to the lifeboats, but they were unable to launch them. The boats were firmly stuck to the keel blocks due to frequent painting. In total, the disaster took the lives of more than 1,000 people. In the mid-50s, a rehabilitation center for drug addicts was opened on the island. Some who visited the island at the time said that people dangerous to the political system were brought there under the guise of drug addicts. The center's staff was later accused of corruption and holding patients against their will, and in 1963, the center was closed. Since then, the island has been deserted, and since 2011, it has been closed to visitors and guarded by the Coast Guard. Now, North Brother is uninhabited again. Many hospital buildings are still standing, but they are slowly being swallowed up by nature. Locals tell legends about the numerous spirits that inhabit the island, patients who died at different times, and passengers of the steamship. Few people know that beneath the calm surface of Qiandao Lake, also known as the Thousand Island Lake in Zhejiang Province, China, lies a frozen architectural masterpiece, the ancient city of Shichen, also known as the Lion City. Forgotten for centuries, it has become a living witness to China's imperial past, where every stone bears the history of dynasties and cultural customs. The history of this city, which could be next to the Great Wall of China in its grandeur, dates back to the distant period of the Han Dynasty. The size of the Lion City is about 62 football fields. After centuries, it managed to survive and flourish. But in 1959, the Lion City was decided to flood to make room for a hydroelectric power station. As part of the project to build the hydroelectric power station, 377 villages, 27 towns, and 50,000 acres of farmland were also flooded along with the ancient city. Almost 300,000 people were forced to migrants because of this. Now, only experienced divers are allowed to open the doors to this underwater museum. The grandeur and mystery make this place dangerous for inexperienced tourists. Not only has the city preserved its cultural heritage in the water, but it also preserves incredibly valuable artifacts such as stone sculptures of lions, dragons, and phoenixes, as well as historical inscriptions dating back to 1777. Today, there are several diving centers operating on this lake. The water in the lake is crystal clear, and hundreds of thousands of tourists flock to it every year to walk along the streets of the ancient city. Some buildings, in particularly dry times, show their tops from under the water, and the entire town is visible, even from the surface of the lake. The Prohm Temple is located in the city of Siem Reap and was built in 1286. During the heyday of the temple, which occupies an area of 730 square kilometers, about 12,000 people lived there permanently, and another 80,000 people from 3,000 nearby villages were subordinated to it. Nowadays, Prohm Temple is famous for being the location where the movie Lara Croft Tomb Raider, starring Angelina Jolie, was filmed. The impressive and spectacular appearance of the ancient temple, entangled with tree roots and vines resembling a dome, leaves no visitor indifferent. The Prohm Temple in Cambodia is listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and restoration work has been underway since 1992. The Prohm complex in Angkor had 39 temples and towers, 4 entrances, 566 different stone structures, and 288 brick structures that were servants' dwellings when it was built. In all these rooms, there were 260 gilded divine statues and monuments. The main feature of the Prohm Temple is the trees growing right out of its walls. Built at one time from porous sandstone, the temple easily absorbs water, so if a plant seed lands on its wall, it feels they're in quite favorable conditions for growth and development. Thus, the temple gives the tree moisture for life, and the branches twine around it, protecting it from the destructive forces of nature. Gray walls of old buildings, tenacious plants that have found shelter between stone slabs, a mill wheel overgrown with moss, and many other details that remind us that people were here once. Probably this is how all abandoned buildings look: decrepit, forgotten, falling apart, but not this place. The Valley of the Mills is the ruins of a large medieval city, which are located right in the center of the city, or to be more precise, under it, at the bottom of a gorge that divides the beautiful city of Sorrento into 2 parts. Today it is difficult to imagine, but in the past the dilapidated remains of buildings were the very engines that helped the city develop. Flour and corn were processed here. There was even a huge sawmill, the wood from which was distributed to the artisans of all the nearby settlements. Nature helped such a vigorous activity to function. Mountain streams filled the valley with water in the spring, and life here was in full swing. Today it is not possible to descend into the Valley of Mills. The whole point is that the city authorities took abandoned buildings under their protection as significant historical sites. That is why you can admire the mysterious landscape only from a height of 100 meters. It is not for nothing that the Valley of Mills is one of the favorite attractions of all fans of mysticism. As was said earlier, the building has long been abandoned. For many years now, the foundation of the building has not felt the footsteps of a person. However, there are many rumors and tales among local residents that the mill has its own inhabitants, only from another, otherworldly world. More than once, residents of nearby houses have heard voices and laughter coming from the gorge where the ruins of the old city are located. In the forests of southern Sweden lies an amazing place, a car cemetery from a bygone era. The cemetery is located in Basness, a stone's throw from the border with Norway. There are more than 1,000 forgotten cars in the forest. Most of them were produced in the 1950s. The parking lot was created by 2 brothers to store cars abandoned by American servicemen after World War II. There are about 1,000 cars in this forest. Here you can find vintage Opels, Fords, Volvos, Buicks, Audis, and Saabs. Some of the cars were dismantled for parts by the organizers of this unusual parking lot. They traded them until the 1980s, and then the place was abandoned. The total value of what remains is estimated at £100,000. After so many years, the trees are growing through the cars, their branches sticking out of the windows and engine bays. So it seems unlikely that any of these cars will ever be restored. These structures today look like a set from a 90s post-apocalyptic movie, but in their time they were strategically important objects in the defense of Great Britain. These sea fortifications are called the Maunsell Forts. The forts of the original design were built at the mouth of the River Thames, near the county of Essex in August 1942. The Luftwaffe attacked British naval targets with enviable regularity, and one of the rather vulnerable places was the sea docks, which required defense from the sea. It was also through the Thames estuary that German aviation had access to cities, including London, which was raided regularly. Since Great Britain is a maritime country, shipping has always been one of the priority areas of the economy. Naturally, Germany took advantage of this during the war, blocking many opportunities. Forts were built exclusively for air defense, and the Royal Navy was supposed to protect them from sea attacks. The fortress consisted of 7 towers standing above the sea and connected by bridges. 4 towers were equipped with heavy anti-aircraft guns of 94mm caliber, and 1 with 2 light rapid-fire 40mm anti-aircraft guns. The central tower was the commander's tower. It housed the radar and control center, as well as the vital 3 diesel generators of 30 kilowatts each for the entire fort. Another tower was intended for lighting and was equipped with powerful searchlights. In total, the fort shot down 22 enemy aircraft and 30 cruise missiles during the war. The fort housed between 120 and 165 people, usually 90 of whom were Marines, 30 sailors, and 3 to 6 officers, and then as needed. The fortification was designed for a month of completely autonomous life, having everything necessary for this. All the towers were abandoned in 1958. Even dismantling was considered unprofitable. However, in the 60s, some of them were inhabited by radio pirates who broadcast music illegally. The fact is that the forts were in neutral waters, and according to the law, nothing could be done to them. To do this, it was necessary to officially move the border area by 12 miles. And to stop radio broadcasting, it was even necessary to resort to the help of the military.